Hi everyone. Sorry I didn't get a video made yesterday. I actually had very little voice left and had to still teach a class last night. But I'm here and I'm going to just go over the expectations for the report today because that's our big assignment. You had two things that you're turning in. One was the case study which was the group assignment you did yesterday, and then the case study stage 6, which is the reflection and the whole holistic report. So I'm going to take my video off as I go through this with you. All right, so let's go into the positive behavior support plan was just done for one of your students, and this is really about going through and listing all the ways that you would keep the behavior from happening by taking care of the triggers or antecedents that happen before the targeted behavior. And so you guys went through and you came up with the plan together. And then the second part, step 4, was around the what materials or training needed to happen or check-ins needed to happen. And then also, how often you're going to be using this PBIS and, revising as necessary and things like that. So anyway, so that was the step 3. But step 6 is the big assignment for this class. We had you do each one of the stages, and then this is you kind of pulling each one of those stages together. So the big thing would be that you would use your the feedback that you got on each stage of your case study in order to make sure that you've got a well done holistic behavior analysis report. The reason why we're calling it holistic is that holistic means that you've looked at something from multiple perspectives. And so, we look at the review of records, interviews with the teacher, family, and the student. You find the strengths, you identify the behaviors, you make sure that everybody's safe, and then you go through the SST meetings. And also, it shows you that you are a critical reflector as an educator. So let's just go through this really quickly. So I'm going to go to the syllabus. Oops. And here's the syllabus on the case study. You can see when we talk about review of records, we're talking about looking at all the school records to find out more about the student. So that's around language, the grade and age, the IEP, 504, RTI, and actually now that I think about it, it could actually be the LPAC goals if there are some there as well. Present levels of performance. So what are their current grades? What's their attendance like? Have they had any office referrals or incident reports? Have interventions or accommodations or supports been tried for the student, and who's done those? Then the second, and that can just be a narrative, like a paragraph or something. Then the next one can also just be a paragraph about the interview with the teacher or teachers, depending on how you did your report. And that's really where you're interviewing to find out more about the strengths and the areas of growth. And you should have interviewed at least one teacher and at least one family member. Then, and once again, just a narrative summary of what you found out from the teacher and from the family. Then you did the culturally responsive transition presentation with the student. The intention of that project was really to get to know the student on a deeper basis. And so one of the things that we had to do was find out about their strengths and interests and needs and preferences. What were their goals after high school? Who are the people that they see in their community? What do they report as being helpful? So the accommodations or modifications to their program, and other pieces. And so it's by including this piece about what the student reports about themselves or what the student wants, it can really give a better understanding of who we're working with. And then pulling the strengths from all of these different areas. And it could even be from the review of records if the student maybe had perfect attendance or, got all A's and B's or something. Then you have the problem identification and decision about behavior sheet. And I'm just going to go to that right here. This was step 1A. And this is where we described the 1 or 2 behaviors, and then we decided if they were destructive, disruptive, or distracting. This is also where we talked to the other teacher, and we learned in class about how to write a behavior statement using observations, versus judgments. And so that's what we're looking for here, is that are you able to clearly write about the problem behaviors based on observations and what you saw from all of the review of records, interviews, and the observation that you did in class, hopefully. But this should all come from that. And so you can describe that process. Then the safety plan, that was a group example. So you can, it's fine to keep this group example here. And just talk about the elements of this safety plan. Let me actually pull the safety plan up. So, where are you? I think you're right around here. Maybe this one. Nope, that's a CRS. I don't know where the safety plan is right now, but it'll probably pop up in a second. But the is this it? There, here it is. So the safety plan was group. You did this as a group, and so you can go through and you can talk about how you looked at who would intervene in a serious episode, the trigger phase, escalation phase, crisis phase, beginning recovery phase, and recovery phase. And the intention here, and what I would do is I would actually bold when I was talking about each one. I would bold like beginning recovery phase, and then talk about what you would want done for that. And just like a few sentences, like a sentence per phase is just fine. But just give that example so that then a principal can go through and be like, wow, they actually know the whole cycle of crisis and can help a student get through that. This next part, you can actually, after you're done inputting the SSTs, you can actually erase this section, but that was just to remind you of all the different pieces that we've put together. So, for each SST. So then we'll go back to SST1. So let's go back up here. SST1. So here is the first SST, which was actually stage 2. Is when we met in the groups and you presented your case and you identified strengths and behaviors, and then you also came up with a 3-week intervention plan and then sorry, this should have gone together. The schedule, the way of keeping track of the behavior, you use the schedule analysis. So you'll talk about that. Our interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary groups met on, and then you put the date, I'm just making up a date, to discuss the behavior, the students' behavior, and sorry about my typing errors, but we identified, and then go through which ones you identified, the intervention we decided upon during the meeting, the meeting was, and and then, sorry, that's bugging me. And we will use the, or I will use the use the schedule analysis to monitor the behavior over the next 3 weeks. And then you can take a screenshot of a schedule analysis. So let me, actually I'm going to pause it now. Okay, so I'm just going to, you would use your own, but I'm just using the filled one from the Bambara book, and I'm going to take a little screenshot of it. And then I would go in here, and where's my screenshot? Here it is. And I would plop it right in there. So then you can see, and I would make it smaller too, because we've already graded these, so they should be in pretty good working order, or in pretty good working order, but excuse me. There we go. Okay, so now you've gone through, you've explained the multidisciplinary, also I would say something about, as a team, we identified different roles each person would take during the meeting, including timekeeper, facilitator, recorder, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I kind of see SST number 1 looking like, and then you'll fill it in as needed. And then that's how you would just kind of put in the screenshot. Then for SST2, let me go back to our syllabus. SST2 was actually, oh my, I have these, that's confusing. Okay, so this is SST number 1. And this would be SST number 2. And then during this one, we looked at the problem identification sheet, we looked at the schedule analysis, and then we completed the functional behavior assessment. So that's the one that looks like this. And so here I would do a similar thing where I would talk about, oops, somebody filled in some part of this. Okay, I would talk about the team. I would talk about the behavior, or that we discussed the behavior. Then we examined the classroom climate, the quality of life, the academics and communication, the medical health and other necessary, the target behaviors and past interventions, the preliminary hunches, the decisions and next steps. And then here is really focusing on, well, you could take some screenshots of, you know, some of these charts and put them in there. So yeah, so some of these charts and put them in there. That's fine. That's a good use. And you can choose which ones seem like they belong there. And then you can also talk about the process. So, you know, this very last part of it, the decisions and next steps, you know, who else did you go back and interview, or did you have to go back and observe the student more, or whatever it is. And then you were also supposed to do an ABC or interval scatter plot. So then I would also, so I just went back to the Bambara. I'm just going to go into the filled, oops. Uh-oh. Let's see what we've got here. We went all the way back. So anyway, so you'll go back and you will take screenshots of the different materials that you completed, the ABC or the frequency chart. And you can like put it in there right after you go through and explain what you guys talked about in that meeting. And then, for example, that was the one with the quality of life. So if, which form was that? Form, this is form, oh, that's the revised. We were looking at form 2A, okay. So form 2A, filled. So this is what it should look like. So, you know, if you did the classroom climate and something surprising was there, if they had like a perfect classroom climate, you can just kind of write a sentence about how the physical space, classroom procedures and everything were good. But if anything was fair or poor, then you'll probably want to like talk about that. Then the quality of life. So this one might be a good one to just take the screenshot of and then save below. The academic strengths and liabilities, that might be another chart you use. You can talk about the communication that you noticed about the child, because most of you, when you went through, you said that they didn't really have many issues, but then, or you might have said like, you know, that the interventions aren't working. But when I went through and I read through most of the case studies that I've read through, I realized that the communication, the mode of communication, there was some sort of struggle that that child had with communicating. And so the intervention that you chose probably would have like addressed some sort of communication issue that week. So then the target behavior and hunches, and then next steps. And so you were supposed to find kind of a new next step intervention, and oops, I did it again. So for that one, for that SST meeting, you were supposed to find a new intervention and then monitor that progress of that. So then you would talk about the intervention again, and you would talk about the monitoring progress. Now, let me get this all made sure. So that's number 2. So this should be number 3. Then we did Bambara 2C. And I don't know why I keep doing this, but let me go in here. And the Jamie. Okay, so 2C now. We were on the 2C. 2C worksheet filled. Okay. So we created the Google Doc for you, but then you're going to share, the different parts of this. So I would probably just do a screenshot maybe of this chart here so that you can show the work that you did, and then you were supposed to describe the intervention and the progress monitoring once again. So making sure that that's there. And then so this was number 3, so then this was number 4. So then this was this last week. And so, you'll talk about whether the interventions worked or not. And then you'll talk about the positive behavior support plan that you did as a group. And you can just share, once again, the different steps of that document, and how you used the information to from each one of the other SST meetings to really develop this. And you worked as a group to do it. And then that's when you go into the what went well, what do I need to do to ensure things go better next time, and how will this impact my teaching, as the very last part of your case study reflection. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. And yeah, I think that was basically it. Next week, we are going to go talk about, where's the what's next? We're going to talk about the critical reflection, how have you grown? And then, and we'll also be having our mixed groups, our topic-specific groups. So we'll be doing, Sean will be doing RP, I'll be doing secondary trauma, and Serena will be doing the behavior management, and we'll also have the potluck party. So please don't forget to sign up for that. Here's the link right here. And I think that's it. I hope that you have a good weekend, and good luck on your holistic behavior assessment report.